Good evening, everyone. I call to order the regular meeting of the Victoria City Council. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on our agenda tonight is announcements. The City Council will hold its first budget workshop of the year on Monday, June 26th at 5 p.m. During the workshop, Council will discuss the preliminary 2024 budget and receive an update from staff on progress related to the Council's previously approved Federal American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, expenditures. That is a mouthful. All meetings of the City Council are open to the public and held in the council chambers at City Hall unless otherwise noted. If you're interested in speaking at a council meeting, we encourage you to contact our city clerk for more information. In other announcements, the classic car shows are back starting June 14th until August 23rd from 5 to 8 p.m., the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. This is organized by the Victoria Business Association. Classic car owners from all over the metro display their classic cars throughout Victoria's downtown. Such a fun event for the entire family. Everyone is invited, and I look forward to seeing you all there. And then back by popular demand is the Victoria Farmers Market. Join us on Thursday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. in the Anki Brewing lower parking lot. That begins on June 22nd through September 28th for produce and other locally produced foods and sweets. Just a reminder, Night to Unite is August 1st. You can call City Hall to register your block party, and City Council and staff will visit at least 20 parties that evening. So if you want to visit from the council and staff, sign up your party. This evening we have two proclamations honoring two amazing women in our community, and I will read these proclamations from the dais. First, we have a proclamation recognizing Monica Schmidt. Monica, this proclamation recognizes June 16th as Monica Schmidt Day. Whereas we are here today to express special recognition to Monica Schmidt and to honor her for her distinguished 48-year career with Able Light. And whereas Monica began her career in 1975 in Victoria as a direct support professional and rose through the ranks until her promotion to the position of Regional Director for Minnesota, and later Senior Director of Operations for Able Light. And whereas Monica was instrumental in opening Able Light Village in Victoria, a one-of-a-kind facility that brings together people of different abilities to live as a community. And whereas she was an integral part of maintaining quality operations for Able Light during the COVID-19 pandemic, a time especially difficult for the developmental disability community. Whereas this proclamation is presented to Monica to serve as a reminder that although she is retiring on June 16th, 2023, she will be remembered for her contributions to Victoria and the developmental disability community. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Deborah McMillan, Mayor of the City of Victoria, Minnesota, and on behalf of the Victoria City Council, do hereby proclaim June 16th as Monica Schmidt Day. Congratulations. And there is a big crowd in the council chambers this evening to help congratulate Monica. Monica, please feel free to step to the podium and say a few words. And bring the little pumpkin with you if she makes you feel better.
Well, I don't know if Reagan's...
No, you got to come to the microphone, otherwise we can't hear you.
Well, I don't know if Reagan's speechless, but I certainly am.
Oh.
Reagan, do you want to say something? Yeah. You say hi to the people? Did you know it's Grandma Day? It's me, Mom. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all very. I don't know whose idea this was, but I'll find out. It's really an honor. Victoria has been. I was born and raised here and spent a lot of time here. And when I started working in my career, it was at community living, which of course was a staple here in Victoria for many years. I remember when we built the group homes, they opened in 1971, and really they were in the middle of farmland. And then the city just kind of grew up around community living, and it's been an amazing career. But nobody is successful in a career without tremendous family, tremendous coworkers, and a lot of people supporting. So thank you very much.
Congratulations. Enjoy your well-earned retirement. And I think, do we want to take a picture?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. Monica, if you can hand off that beautiful little baby for a moment, and we will take a picture. Let's come around, let's come around to the front of the dais, and we'll do it right in front of the dais. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We have two amazing women from Victoria that we're going to welcome, or we're going to congratulate and honor tonight. Sue, I have some words for you. It's the end of an era. Sue Orson, reporter, editor, and publisher of the Victoria Gazette for 44 years, has quit. I'm not sure there are enough superlatives in the world that express how extraordinary it is to have a newspaper produced each month for 44 years by a one-woman show. Sue, for 44 years, you have informed and delighted readers. Thank you for so beautifully reporting on the wonderful people and families of Victoria, including your own. You've honored all of us with their stories and yours. You came into our homes every month via the Gazette, and we felt as though we knew you, your family, and your close friends. Your reporting of Victoria's humanity was special and unique. Also reported in the Gazette over the years were the changes in Victoria's business community and neighborhoods. The construction, repair, and demolition of Victoria's homes and significant buildings are thoroughly recorded and carefully documented by you. Thank you for attending in person or virtually every single city council meeting for 44 years. Your dedication to reporting on the city's business has kept the citizens of Victoria well informed for decades. And while you could not be designated as the City of Victoria's official newspaper, no other reporter covered City Hall as thoroughly as you did, and we are grateful for your service to this community. On behalf of Victoria's current and past mayors, City Council and staff members, and this mayor in particular, we wish you the best as you move to the next chapter. What you have accomplished is no small thing. Dear Sue, thank you for sharing your love of news and paper with Victoria. And now I will read this proclamation. A proclamation recognizing Sue Orson and the Victoria Gazette. Whereas in June 1979, the Victoria Gazette was created as an advertiser for a local restaurant. And in 1980, Sue Orson transformed the Victoria Gazette into a newspaper featuring news, stories, and articles related to the Victoria community and the families that reside there. And whereas with Sue's guidance as writer, editor, publisher, and owner, the Victoria Gazette successfully reached every mailbox in Victoria and expanded into communities near and far from Victoria's boundary. And whereas, in addition to the countless news and articles shared, Sue has also dedicated the time to capture Victoria's vast history through interviews and photos of Victoria's founding families, changing downtown, and community get-togethers. And whereas these past 44 years, Sue and the Victoria Gazette have made an impact on the Victoria community, and the stories shared will be remembered for years to come. Now, therefore, I, Deborah McMillan, Mayor of the City of Victoria, Minnesota, and on behalf of the Victoria City Council, recognize Sue Orson for her commitment to the City of Victoria and do hereby celebrate her achievements and years of service as owner of the Victoria Gazette and thank her for the past 44 years of writing and reporting. Congratulations. And now, Sue, please step to the podium and provide some remarks.
Right before I came, I just thought I'd check to see how many mayors I don't want to say served under, but covered. And there were 22 mayors in Victoria since 2015, when the city was incorporated. And I personally knew all of them, or met all of them but 4, which is amazing, because I wasn't born and raised here. And 11 of them I served under, and 5 of them I knew. And so this community isn't as huge as we might think it's gotten to be. It's still pretty little to only have 22 mayors. And it's really been fun. Thank you for all your kind words. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. It will be a lonesome mailbox on the first Thursday of every month when the Victoria Gazette isn't in
I'm
it.
glad I don't have to cover this meeting.
It feels wrong that somebody isn't going to write about this. Al, can you spin up one last edition of the Victoria Gazette in honor of your wife? That would be so amazing. You know what, Sue, we want to take your picture as well, so let's do that. You got yours out? Yep. All right. Very good.
See you later.
It is with great distinction, Sue, that I be the mayor that you go out on. Thanks. All right, that was so much fun. All right, our next order of business, we got some business to attend to here. We need to adopt the final agenda. We haven't even done that yet. All right, council, can I get a motion to adopt the final agenda?
Motion to adopt the final agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to our next item, which is open forum. This is the opportunity for anyone to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda and not in application form that will be coming to the council at a future date. Please do not expect action from the council this evening regarding your comments. Council members may ask clarifying questions, but open forum is not intended to be a back and forth discussion. We have one individual registered to speak in advance, and that's Miss Molly Bonneman. Did I say that right? Bonneman? Great. Please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and address the council.
My name is Molly Bonneman. My address is 609 6th Avenue South, Hopkins, Minnesota.
and I'm here on behalf of Minnetonka Community Education to talk about Tour de Tonka. I've been in front of you one time before. I did not expect to get all the feels coming in here tonight. That was so lovely. What a nice way to start the evening. So a little information about Tour de Tonka. It's always the first Saturday of every month, so the first Saturday of August every year. This year it will be August 5th. Do I have a clicker?
You have Claudia, and she's
there
the
you go.
clicker.
for you.
We can do that. That works for me. So some Tour de Tonka information by the numbers. This is the 18th annual Tour de Tonka. We have 53 legacy riders, so 53 people who have ridden in every single ride. There are 44 total U.S. states of TDT riders since 2006 when we started keeping track. It's a total of 301 miles if you add all the routes together. And then there are 41,390 total riders since 2006. It's a big ride. So we have some trivia because our community ed director does a lot of games and trivia. So our trivia for you tonight is, what is the 2023 Tour de Tonka, what is the TDT tagline in year one? So in 2006, our tagline was...
A community ride.
Right.
Good job, you guys. Nicely done.
We're smarter than your average
I
council.
appreciate that. I did your homework before I came. Yes, a community ride was our tagline. Tour de Tonka added a 100-mile option in what year?
2010.
Good job, Mayor. She's winning the prizes. I already gave the prizes. They are some cups with our sponsors' information on them. And then the next and last question is, in 2023, TDT will go through how many cities?
22.
25.
25 is the winner. These are our major sponsors for 2023. You can go to the next slide too. So as you can see, we have a lot of community sponsors that really help us to make this happen. When you think about 301 miles to be making sure our safer riders, it really does take a lot of people to help make that happen. So just a fun fact for you, Minnesota Bike Event Economics. This is a study from 2015. On average, someone who comes out for a bike ride spends about $121 per day, and that's in the 2015 numbers. So we know that that's about 23% higher now, and that's just on the event fees, gas, dining out, and lodging. And since we bring in so many people from all over the country, you can imagine how much just their participation brings to the communities that they're visiting while they're with us. Part of what we do in Tour de Tonka is to raise money for the ICA food shelf. Pictured here is our friend Ron Camps. He was really an integral part to a lot of communities, we've come to find out, but Ron passed away this March, and so it's going to feel very strange to be having this event without his personality there. Last year we raised over $7,000, and so we raise a good amount of money, but we also donate a lot of food. So I feel like Tour de Tonka is the only ride you can get fatter on while you do it, because we feed you so much food. So things that are left over and can be donated are also donated to the food shelf. These are all the counties that have participated in our ride.
Wow, we got to go get a couple more.
I know, we're getting so close to a bingo. I feel like it's coming. We had our first rider ever from Arkansas in 2022, so we're really getting close. So if you know anyone in Idaho, Wyoming, Hawaii, Alabama, Vermont, or Delaware, please invite them to ride this ride. 16 miles is easy. Anyone can do it. So we're traveling through a lot of communities this year, including yours, which is why I'm here to visit you and talk a little bit about what we do. We have some big water and rest stops in Waconia and in Chaska, which are most of the time the people who are riding through your community end up at. This is our rider shirt for this year. So one of the things that we give away each year is a shirt to everyone that registers, and then the volunteers also get a shirt, which leads me to my next slide, which is we really need volunteers. So if you have a group that's interested in coming out and doing something fun, it is probably the most fun you can have volunteering in the summer on a Saturday, because the riders are just pumped. They're excited to be out. They're excited to be meeting new people. They're excited to have good food. Even in the rain last year, people were coming in just happy to be there and happy we were there to support them. So you can see we ride all over the place. And we can't do this without the help of our local law enforcement and other city officials that help to keep everything safe. So we're trying something new this year. We're giving away 6 free rides. So for each mileage ride there is, we are hiding a medallion. So if you find the medallion, you get a free registration to Tour de Tonka. All the clues will be given on our Instagram account. We'll be doing this every week until the ride. So volunteers are needed. You can do a shift for 2 hours. You can be there all day. We have a lot of different opportunities for people. You can work at a rest stop. There's bands and DJs at all the rest stops. It really is a ton of fun. Or you can help on the roads, directing traffic, making sure people are safe. We're excited to see you there. If you aren't going to help, get a group together and come ride.
Awesome. Thank you. What was that website again for volunteers and registration?
It's minnetonkaCommunityEd.org, and then you click on the events tab.
Okay.
And there's volunteer information there as
And
well.
they go straight to that tourdetonka.org?
Yep, you can go to tourdetonka.org as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yep, both are really
Thank you
easy.
so much. Good luck with your ride. Good luck with your
Thank you so much
fundraising.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And then there were 2.
We're feeling a little funny.
Let's see if we can get a proclamation from under the desk here. See if we can do something for you guys who, the Durability Award, who gets to stay to the end. All right, anybody else in the audience who wants to address the council? All right, seeing no one, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine, administrative, and do not require deliberation or are housekeeping items required by law. They're approved with one vote unless someone would like an item to be removed and considered separately. Ms. Hardy, does staff have anything to pull from the consent agenda?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council, anybody have anything? Seeing none of those, anyone in the audience want to pull anything from the consent? All right. That being said, council, may I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Motion to accept.
I have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our regular agenda, the first item this evening is item 6.1, which is a public hearing for the 2023 liquor license renewals. Presenting this evening is our city clerk, Claudia Edisfold. Ms. Edisfold, you usually sit quietly over there. Today, you get to talk.
I do. Madam Mayor and council, members of the council, for the 23-24 alcohol licensing renewals, we received, what did we receive? 12 intoxicating liquor licenses. Part of our municipal code requires us to hold a public hearing, and this public hearing would satisfy that ordinance. License applicants were notified.
Claudia, can you speak into?
License applicants were notified of the public hearing today, and it was published in the Chanhassen Villager on June 1st.
Terrific. Thank you, Ms. Edisfold. This is a public hearing, so I will now open the floor for public comment. Does anyone wish to speak to this item? Anyone wanting to speak? And the third request, seeing no comments, I will now close the public hearing. And council, any discussion from council, questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Do we need a motion?
Yes,
Can you put it up on the screen for us?
I did not put.
Is it just a motion to accept the liquor license renewals? So motion to approve the liquor license renewals for 2023 and 2024.
Thank you. We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6.2 is a consideration to reauthorize Bolton and Mink to conduct a professional services study related to Highway 5 and County Road 11 downtown west improvements. Presenting this evening is our city engineer, Kara Guerin. Ms. Guerin, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I do not have a lengthy presentation for you because we've been talking about all of these things for years now. As part of the Arboretum Area Transportation Plan, one of the projects, if you recall, and Lyndon spoke of it when he was here last, that we have the projects broken into different areas as we pursue funding and move them through the process. One of the projects is based on the funding for a roundabout that the county successfully received for the intersection of 5 and 11 by Dairy Queen. So the county did get funding for the roundabout itself, but the roundabout needs to be tied into from the north and from the east. And as the council is aware, we have a project development area, the downtown west area, that the city is planning for development of land that the city owns that is adjacent to these two corridors. So what's happening on the 13.5 acres affects both Highway 11 and Highway 5 between the bridge and the intersection where we're constructing a roundabout. So at the time that we were working on the Arboretum Area Transportation Plan, the development of the 13.5 acres was far enough in the future that we couldn't really get too far into the weeds for what the concept roadway should look like for Highway 5 between the bridge and the intersection, just without having any idea what the uses were going to be. But now that something's moving forward, we want to make sure that we're incorporating into the vision for the corridor what the needs are for both the property that we'll be developing, of course, as well as all the businesses that are on the south side of Highway 5. So, the rest of the vision for Highway 5 ultimately includes a 4-lane divided roadway. So as an example, we need to figure out how these properties are going to be accessed. Right now, there's multiple access points onto 5. And if you recall, when we were looking at the area by commercial and looking at the potential to impact an adjacent property owner there with a median, there's really a need to work through that in pretty great detail and study with the adjacent property owners. And then likewise for County Road 11, the Steiger Lake Lane connection is intended to occur somewhere north of the daycare. So wanting to understand what that corridor should look like to accommodate turn lanes and appropriate access into that site. So because we have an active participation role in this particular project, even though Highway 5 is a state road and County Road 11 is a county road, the city and county staff felt it would be most appropriate for the city to lead this particular project. In addition, county staff is getting their plates pretty full with the projects they're leading, which includes the design of Highway 5 from commercial all the way through Highway 41, 82nd Street from Bavaria all the way over to Chanhassen. They're also leading the roundabout project at Marsh Lake Road and Highway 11, so they also were looking for some help in terms of being able to manage all those projects. So we worked together jointly with county staff and drafted an RFP for all the services that are needed for this scope of work. It was like a 47-page RFP, a lot longer than what the city typically leads, but there's specific requirements associated with the city or the state and county road improvements. 6 of the firms in our professional services firm submitted. A team of people from the city, the county, and MnDOT all jointly reviewed the 6 proposals that were submitted and ranked them in different areas. That is noted in your staff report. And then had some follow-up conversation with the firm that had the most points. And so with that, the team concluded that we would recommend that Bolton and Mink be selected for the professional services for this project. Now, the scope of work that was in the RFP takes the project from concept all the way through final design, with the intent of constructing in '25. So Lyndon spoke of this when he came last month, 2 weeks ago, it's a blur, that we want to try to get this project done before the other ones, because we have to be mindful of how all these different construction projects stage out such that we, don't have everything shut down at once, but also have the things shut down at once that we think should be. So to that end, we would like to get going on it. But what we're asking for council authorization tonight is just $175,000 of the $845,000 that we solicited services for, so that we can figure out what the scope is of the actual improvements and figure out what the actual cost shares are going to be for the county and the state. The city's cost share is going to be smaller than all of these other entities in terms of what we'll have to fund. The main drivers of the city's cost participation will be the fact that we are having property that we own that is going to develop adjacent to these corridors. So as an example, the county has a cost participation policy that's development driven that will have the city funding some of the project costs associated with improvements that are needed on 11 to accommodate a new local road connection. So similar to how we had to participate in funding Highway 11 by Hunters Brook and Marsh Hollow. That policy would apply here. So, but for this initial study phase, which would help us really figure out what we're going to build in an initial project and figure out what everybody's cost share are, we identified about $175,000 of services to be funded, and it would be proposed that that would be funded jointly by the city and Carver County. Under their typical process, it would be a 50-50 split. We are talking with MnDOT about possibly contributing up to $50,000 for that study as well. So finalizing that detail yet today. Haven't gotten confirmation yet from that. But these projects are in the CIP, so we would just be allocating a portion of our, what will be our share of the project upfront, and the county will give us cash to fund their share. Okay. That was a lot of information, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Council, questions? Go ahead, Kara.
One more thing that I do just want to add is that initial phase of work is going to include pretty extensive public engagement. So there will be open houses in that first phase for the broader public, but we really do need to spend some time with all the business owners that are potentially affected by these projects. So the Community and Economic Development Director has started reaching out and having some initial conversations with some of them, particularly also relating to the 13.5 acres. We've met with the owners of Dairy Queen at least once. So that a lot of, part of that money is going to fund the public engagement that we really do think needs to get kicked off, particularly if we're talking about a construction project of this magnitude in '25.
Yeah. What's the timeline for this initial?
October. So the goal would be that we would be back in front of the council in October with a preferred concept and a joint powers agreement that would lay out the cost shares going forward for the broader project.
So pretty quickly.
Yes.
Very good. Council, other questions?
So, just, excuse me.
Councilmember Reif, please.
With the initial investment of 175, it's for getting the scope and the cost share outline prior to October? Is that?
That is correct. Yes. The 175,000 does include topographic surveys. Typically, we wouldn't do those until after the concept stage, but we want to get that work done in the summer so we don't run into having to do that survey work in the winter if we have any delays with that October schedule, and some initial geotechnical investigation work and some other detail things like a traffic study, which will be a very, very, very important piece of this puzzle, is taking a look at the traffic generators we're anticipating on the 13.5 acres. That study will take in all the study work that's been done to date by the county for developing our transportation model, but it will specifically look at the impact on a connection of Steiger Lake Lane to 5, connection to 11, the Rose, by Floyd's,
That's Rose.
Victoria Drive.
Oh,
The Victoria Drive side intersection where we have stop control, some of this has just even been coming up with the Roars conversation. What's going to happen to all these intersections with the development? The city had done a traffic study back when we did the downtown master plan, but we have a lot more information based on today with the current model and the traffic projections of the county. So that'll be a really important piece of the puzzle. One other thing that popped into my head that is worth saying out loud, the Bolton and Mink team does include Nathan First, which will be a good benefit to the city in terms of interfacing the planning ideas for the 13 and a half acres with the engineers. So
very good. Yeah. Nathan is a good friend of the city of Victoria. It's true. All right. Anything else, Kara? All right, council, any other questions from you? All right, very good. At this point, then, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve authorization of Bolton and Mink, Inc. to provide professional services for Highways 5 and 11 downtown west improvements in an amount not to exceed $175,000.
Thank you. We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We are on to reports and emerging issues. Attorney Vos, you are first. Anything from you?
Mayor and Council, I've reported a few times on legislative activities. Of course, the legislature is done now. I think I haven't had a chance to report to you on that. Sort of two global things. One, just very generally, the legislature allocated a lot of money to local governments and made some substantive law changes that impact local governments. My firm intends to get out a sort of summary of that for clients, so I'll pass that along to you, a summary of the various changes that impact cities. The specific change, of course, that I've mentioned to you in the past is that, as predicted, the legislature has legalized recreational marijuana. That won't go into effect, practically speaking, right away. There's a new state agency that's been created that will license sellers and growers and distributors of marijuana, and that agency has to get set up and start doing its licensing before anything happens. The law that creates now recreational marijuana legalization is extremely complicated. We had a seminar, our firm had a seminar for you and other of our clients, and others in my firm sort of gave the seminar. The takeaways with respect to cities, there's a lot that happens in the bill, but the takeaways for cities really are that cities have been given authority to adopt moratoria, on sales of recreational marijuana through, if you went the full length of time, through January of 2025. I think a lot of cities, that the last round in what I've been calling 3-2 marijuana, light marijuana, relatively small doses, many cities adopted moratoria on that, but many cities did not because it was a relatively low impact change, cities thought. This time around, it appears that most cities, or many cities, are going to use their authority to adopt moratoria. And the reason for that is that the state agency that's sort of yet to be fully constructed, that state agency is going to produce a model ordinance for cities to look at regarding regulation of marijuana sales and usage in local communities. And that will take probably at least a year for that model ordinance to be produced. And so a lot of cities, I think, want to sit back and wait to see what the state agency recommends for local regulation of this new drug being legalized, obviously not a new drug, but newly legalized. And so I just tell you all that because I think staff will probably bring forward that moratorium for you to consider. You know, it's a hard issue, frankly, for staff. I know I'm putting words in staff's mouth, but it's a hard issue for staff to sort of really have a firm recommendation about. I mean, it truly is as policy-driven an issue as you're going to get, other than I would say to staff and will say to staff that there is enough ambiguity about how this is going to work in practice that at least taking a step back and sort of seeing how things shake out in the short term probably makes some sense. So I think typically we wouldn't be making recommendations. I wouldn't be making a recommendation to you about adopting a moratorium on something. That's entirely your decision to make, not mine. But this is a case where there's enough out there, enough uncertainty and enough ambiguity that I think I'd at least want you to strongly consider doing that for a period of time while sort of things shake out with respect to this new change. You know, I think there's a strong argument that it's not a horrible public policy change, that there are worse things that go on legally already. But it is a big change, right? I mean, it is legalizing something that has not ever been legal in the state before, and how that's going to work. It's an all-cash business because it's not legal federally at this point. You can't use credit cards. So there are some unique things about marijuana sales that will occur. There's a new tax associated with it that's going to have to be collected. So there's a lot of moving parts, and there's enough there that I think I'd like you to at least consider putting a pause on things for your community while how this shakes out.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob.
Yep.
I know there was something, I've heard some part of that legislation that deals with cities at or below 12,500 people, and we are right on the cusp of that. Can you speak to that a little bit? Is it one distributor per 5,000 people, 12,500 people?
Yeah, so Mayor, that's right fundamentally. I mean, there's a step even lower on the pyramid than that. Cities are not obligated to do anything with this. I mean, cities can just simply say, we're not going to be in the game of regulating or dealing with this. We're going to defer to the county. The county then would have some authority over sales locally in a city that defers to the counties. Putting that aside, yes, a city that gets in the game and wants to have some role in this can set limits on the number of licensed retail establishments in town, and you're exactly right, Mayor, with the threshold. You can limit it to as few as 1 per 12,500 in population. So I don't know today where we are in population. I think we could limit it to 1 as of today. I don't know where we'll be as of January 2025, but you have the threshold right. That's right.
Thank you. All right. Council, any questions for the attorney?
You said it's going to take the licensing agency a while to get up and running.
Yep.
People are using it in public recreationally. Are there penalties? What is in the interim between licensing and actual use?
Yeah, and Mayor and Council, I mean, first of all, let me just state the exceedingly obvious point that enforcement of existing laws prior to full implementation of legalization, that turns on law enforcement and law enforcement's resources and their directives. So I can't speak to how Carver County law enforcement is going to be, how significant an effort they're going to be making on something that is becoming legal. That said, you're right. There, I'm sure, is usage going on that isn't legal today, and there are criminal penalties for that. I think that absent us talking about some high volumes or some sort of egregious conduct, I don't get the sense that law enforcement is going to. Law enforcement may, in some places, be treating this as though the law is in effect today, but I can't speak to Carver County and Carver County Sheriff's Office and how they want to deal with that. So.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Other questions, comments? All right, Ms. Hardy, anything from staff?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just real quick, just a reminder to everyone, if you haven't been following the news or the weather, you probably might not realize we're back in drought conditions. So just wanted to put a plug out there to remind everyone that our water restrictions are in effect. We typically, just to put things into perspective for everyone, during the winter months, when we're not making our lawns green and irrigating lawns, our typical usage for gallons per day is around 600,000 gallons. We are pushing 3 million gallons, and what that tells us is that most of that water use is through irrigation and watering the lawns. So just be mindful that water conservation really helps the environment, helps the city, water systems. So we really want to just encourage people to be following those water restrictions and be thoughtful about when you run those, when you're running your irrigation to kind of help keep things in line. The other thing is, we've talked about this last year when we were facing these conditions as well. If people can be thoughtful about when you're watering your lawns, the most popular time of day has typically been about 4 to 6 a.m. So we tend to start seeing issues, challenges with our system when everybody's trying to water at the same time. And that can affect the water hydrant pressure and flow. So we want to make sure that we're not impacting that in a bad way, should we need to be using those hydrants. So, so staggering that time or watering for at night, overnight, not necessarily in those peak hours, is something that we just want to remind people to be thinking about as well.
Thank you. So we ask our citizens, take a look at your automatic sprinklers. Make sure that they're set to water on the days that you are allowed to water, and consider changing up your times to kind of help with our water pressure. We want to make sure that we have enough water in our system to put out a fire should one happen. All right, council, anything for council?
Just had a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Since we started making awareness pushes on this, did we see a reduction in 2022 over 2021 when we had such a push for water?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah,
Councilmember Gunderson, members of the council, yes, we have seen an improvement. We have, maybe we've hit the 3 million gallons just briefly, but it's been hovering in the upper, like 2.6, 2.7 gallons a day. So we're getting close to that 3 million. But yes, that was effective, and people are being more thoughtful. We have more residents here this year than we did last year. So we definitely want to recognize the efforts that our residents are making and being
Almost 1 million gallons on average, right?
500,000. Yep.
That's pretty good.
And we want to make a note here, if you have new sod or new lawn, you can get a permit to water. Just contact City Hall or go on our website. I think you can do it online. You don't even have to come down to City Hall. So if you have new sod, we don't want your sod dying on you, we can give you a permit to water it. All right.
Nothing else.
All right, anything else from council? Great. There are no more items to come before the body this evening, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.